excited to be here with you again tonight because I am sitting here and really anticipating this conversation because it's one that really needs to be had in many, many circles. I am joined now by Candy Zenon, and she is a first-time author of the book, My Precious Wedding Gift. And, you know, I'm excited about this because this is something you don't hear a lot about right now in this world where a lot of compromise goes on in terms of relationships before marriage. This is something that needs to be addressed, so thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So you've written a book called My Precious Wedding Gift, and I'm going to let you tell, what is that precious wedding gift?
My precious wedding gift is pretty much telling about yourself. You're the gift. In a lot of single forums, they teach about virtue, stand abstinent, stand chaste. But once you know who you are, you really don't have to be told to stay a virgin or to keep yourself into marriage. Because once you know that you're royalty, you walk like you're royal, you know, in royal priesthood. Once you know that you're a treasure, you know your worth, you walk in that worth.
But you know, that is something that we don't hear a whole lot. As a matter of fact, we live in a society today where the music that we listen to, the programming that we watch, everything is basically the polar opposite of what you're talking about. Why did you feel that this was the time to write this book?
Actually, it was a journey of my own life.
Okay.
Starting out doing the norm, what you think is acceptable, and finding out that the norm wasn't really right. Because even though it was common, you see it a lot, don't make it right.
That's right.
So once God taught me my worth and my value, I started to dig in. I asked God, who are you and who are you to me? And once, and in part of the book, I call the seeking, because I was seeking the Lord. Show me, you can't be just a person that I give a list to.
Yeah, you know? I want this height and this size and this much money and all those other things.
Yeah, yeah. So, and once he started showing me, I learned that the list that I had anyway was
focused
wrong.
On all the wrong things.
Right. So if anything, you pray for the inner, and God will take care of the outer.
Okay.
You know, because what you're praying for, until you know you don't know what you really want.
That's true. That's true. And you know, we talked about that in the first hour with really getting to know yourself and loving yourself, because you are an essential part of the whole journey of your life. You're trying to get somewhere, but you got to really be in touch with who you are to be able to do that.
Right.
So one of the things I like you have here on the back of the book, it says that basically that you want to present your husband with the greatest gift you can give him, and that is a whole and complete you.
Right.
How do we get whole and how do we get complete if we've kind of, you know, missed it? You know, we've fallen off track. We didn't know, because, you know, there are a lot of young women today who just operate as if, you know, this is the norm. This is what I do. You know, you meet a guy, you date him, you get intimate with him, and he could be a Christian, you can be a Christian. That being a Christian doesn't mean anything. How do you get back on that path to completeness and wholeness so that you are valuing the treasure that you are, as you just described?
Wholeness is knowing who you are, where you're going, where you've been. So no one could come and tell you, I remember you when, which is a testimony. I mean, you could shout on that because you know that you're not that anymore. And you know where you've been. It's okay to look back. You know, look back, forgive, let go of the dismay, the grunts, the grudges. You know, drop the rock so we can accept the gift today, the present, and then catapult into your future. Have a plan. Wholeness, be whole in your finances. God said, I wish above all things that you prosper, just as your soul prospers. So he wants you to be whole and complete in all areas of your life, your mind, body, spirit. So knowing where you are, where you're going, have a plan for your life. You know, what dreams, desires that you have, what talents you have within. Unearth those, you know, market it, you know, where are you going? So when you present yourself, you know who you're defined by. You know, you don't have to wait for somebody to come along and complete you. You was complete when you presented yourself to your to-be spouse.
That's right. You know, I often heard you want, it's a 50-50% deal. You know, you bring 50, you give your 50%, he gets his 50%, and you end up with 100. But the truth is it's 100-100, right?
Because if you come with 50 and you get 50, you're going to be begging and borrowing and pleading, trying to make up that 100 because something was missing before.
Yes.
So my thing is come complete with your 100%,
right.
so you can expect 100%. You know, because you don't want to turn any relationship into a master-slave relationship. You know, the borrower becomes a slave to the lender.
That's right.
And that's in any relationship.
And it's not just lending in terms of finances. It's
Right.
lending in terms of if
You
you're
could be
relying,
emotionally drained. You could be spiritually
That's
drained.
right.
You know, not just financially drained. And when you keep taking and taking, just like an account, and you make too many withdrawals with no deposits, it becomes insufficient. And then there goes the divorce, and then you starting over and wondering why.
So really, this is premarital counseling. This is the way to prepare yourself to make sure that you're doing what you're supposed to do on the front end. Because so many times when we talk about relationships, especially young women, you have a lot of young women who grow up in homes without fathers. So they haven't had a relationship modeled for them. They've had a mom who's had to be mom and dad or strong, or they've grown up with a father and without a mother, but they haven't had the model of what a godly relationship is supposed to look like. And then if you're working with your peers, many of whom may not be living the lifestyle that you know to live, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard to stand. What suggestions do you offer to that young Christian girl who's out there and she's like, you know, I hear you, but it's a much different game out here. What do you say?
I was listening to a comedian on TBN, and they stated, he stated, God's name is something. You know, that voice inside, that something told me. You know, listen to that voice because it'll never steer you wrong. You know, everybody says that they can't hear God, but He's speaking. Just listen. That gut feeling, or I should have followed my first mind, or something told me. Listen, because if you think it's wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah, chances are
you know, and start inquiring, seek mentors. You know, if it's not inside the family, maybe at a local church. You know, maybe a elder that's close by. You know, seek wisdom, because if you seek wisdom, you'll get it. You know, and to start to find out more about walking a path of righteousness. That's right. You know, because when you start seeking God, He's going to answer.
And you know, that's something, again, it's so important. I was telling you before we came on that I was having a conversation today, and it does seem like righteousness is the standard. And the circles that you're in sometimes doesn't seem to be as high as it used to be. It used to be that you don't do this and you don't do that. And now it's that, well, you do it, but if you do it, then you sneak this way, you sneak that way. And I want to talk to you about that when we come back, because we're going to take a quick break right now. But how do we live this righteous life? How do you keep that bar up there? Understanding you're not going to be perfect, but how do we maintain the righteousness of Christ in our lives? And we're going to talk about that a little bit. Well, joining me again is Candy Zanon, and she is the author of My Precious Wedding Gift, and actually the gift is you, right?
Right.
And we were just sitting here talking. You really should have been here for the conversation we were having, but we're going to bring you into it right now because we're talking about the pressure that's on young women, especially Christian young women, to be married. You know, it just seems like there's so many things, you know, society has changed so much. And you have a world where promiscuity is rampant, living with someone, and, you know, you don't even have to be in a standard relationship anymore to, you know, be promiscuous. You can just do it because that's what's cool and that's what's expected. But if you are a believer and you're trying to live a righteous life, God doesn't lower the bar for the times, does He?
No. Cohabitating is a high cost for low living. And if you start off kicking out your standards, kicking out your morals, lowering your standards, if you start off in compromise, it's going to continue in compromise. So, and then you end up hurt at the end of the relationship. But the beginning wasn't fair.
That's right.
It wasn't fair to you, and it wasn't fair to the person you was in a relationship with. You know, righteousness, people look at Christianity or biblical standards as, oh, it's too holy, or that's escapism, or that's religion.
It doesn't take all that.
You know, or that's, you know, back in the day. But no, it's now. You know, if it was wrong yesterday, it's wrong today.
If it was wrong 10 years ago, it's wrong today. Because let's keep it real. A lot of people sometimes wait on God to change his mind. Last time I checked, he wasn't in the changing mind business. Exactly.
You know, a lot of things that I wanted to pursue in my life, and I'll come out, I'll tell God, I was like, I need to do this because it is, and he'll say, wait. A 4-letter word, wait. And I used to get so upset. But when I looked up, wait, you know, wait with expectancy. You know, stand steadily. You know, be confident in expecting. And so I can do that, you know, because I can expect God to show up in my life, you know, show up and show out, you know, because he have a plan, you know, and who better to ask that question than him? You know, each and every one of us have a plan for our lives. Everyone will not be married. But if that's in your plan, no one can take that away from you. You know, but get the plan for your life, write it down. And then when it comes to it, wait. That's that wilderness experience. That's when he start purging us and taking us by the brook carrot, the cutting place. So before you could be a blessing to someone, some things gonna have to be cut off. A lot of times you think, oh, I'm good to go. You know, I'm ready for my mate. But it's some things that God want to grow up in you.
That's right.
You know, you may not like to cook. You may not like to clean house. You may not want children. Your spouse wants children. You know, so it's a lot of things that God will have to grow up inside of you.
Let me ask you this question, though, because there are a lot of women out there who are nervous. You know, they're nervous about that cutting place, but they're also nervous about the fact that they have been waiting. You know, it's not like they're new to the waiting game. They've been waiting. And in the waiting process, they're getting older, you know, they want to have children, and they're believing God for a mate, but it doesn't seem to be materializing. And it's not that they don't want to wait, they've been waiting. What do you say to those women?
In 1 Corinthians, it states that a single woman or a virgin should be about the Father's business. That's why he who findeth the wife, find it a good thing, and the good thing isn't just someone that's a virgin, but it's someone that's good in all aspects of the word.
Now that's a good answer. I like that.
you know, because my thing is, if you're about your Father's business, your waiting should be, you know, it shouldn't be a laborious task. Your waiting process shouldn't be a laborious task. You know, by the time your spouse come along, you're like, oh man, you here? Why? Because you've been enjoying yourself, enjoying your Lord, enjoying your dreams, your desires, fulfilling goals, fulfilling the plan, and it goes back to knowing your plan. You know, so if you sitting and you waiting and you depressed and distraught, you haven't grown up yet.
That's right.
So chances are what you're praying for, you're not going to get. God don't give you what you pray for, he give you what you prepared for.
Wow.
And if you're not prepared for it, you're not going to get it.
And you know, it's so important because, again, I think God requires things of us, and he doesn't lower the bar. He does not change the requirement because we're kicking, screaming, crying, or getting older.
Oh, you're going to lean over and say, you're not ready.
Absolutely.
You know, stand up, wipe your tears, and do what I asked you to do. And until you could get that right, then I could give you what you were asking for.
Go back to that place of obedience.
Obedience. You know, because once you hear, you respond in obedient actions, and you go for it. You know, you go for it and do what you're supposed to be doing. You know, he's coming. He's not lost. He go find you.
That's right. It's he who finds, not she who goes looking.
Right. And a lot of times we get confused about, a lot of women say, I'm going to wait. I'm just going to sit and wait for him to come. You know, but that good thing is just somebody, it's not saying that, well, what I want to say is that good thing, that's just somebody that's not going to get you kicked out of the garden. You know, you're not going to eat the forbidden fruit and get him kicked out of the garden. My thing is, if you that good thing, you wife material.
Yes, that's right. So what made you write this book?
Again, life journey. So I had an opportunity to see women's lives in all aspects. You know, the married and happily married, the married and depressed, you know, the single and waiting, you know, the single and not waiting. So I had an opportunity to see every aspect. So my book is, if it's not from a first perspective, you know, is from observation.
Okay. It's from the collective around you. You can post stories and write about them. And well, you know, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. You know, when you read the Word, we read so many stories of young women, of men and women of God, whose stories speak to us about who God is and how we encounter Him through our own experiences.
Right.
And basically, that's what My Precious Wedding Gift is all about. So where can people go to get more information about you and your book?
The book is sold on the internet, anywhere books are sold, in any bookstore,
Okay.
Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million. It's sold on Amazon.com, eBay. So if they type in My Precious Wedding Gift, they'll be able to pull up the book, or they could type in my name, Candie, Candiezenon.
Okay, wonderful. And so what's going to be book number 2? Have you thought about it yet?
Yes, I have.
Oh, but you're not going to tell us.
No.
Not even a sneak peek. She's like, nope. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight and sharing this with us, because again, there are a lot of women out there who really understand that there's a process of waiting that has to happen in our lives, but it's all about being prepared and ready.
Yes.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we wish you much success.
Thank you
and
so
let us
much.
know when book number 2 comes out so that
will.
we can, you know, give people a little sneak peek about it.
I will.
Thank you, Candie.